Hello, we are going to be doing a three-part series. So this is the first of three videos that you can always put together for a longer session, but they all link up and are the foundations. So the first class is the foundations for the second class, and the first class are the foundations for the third class. So they all build on top of each other. So let's get started. We are going to focus on a lower body tune up to start with, and a little bit of side body connection. We're going to come onto our backs, feet flat on the floor, knees up to the sky. So when you get to lying, just take a few moments to wiggle around if you need to get rid of any kind of tightness or stress in the body that you notice straight away. And then once you're settled in, close down the eyes or soften your gaze and give yourself a few moments here. Noticing how your body feels today. Becoming aware of your mind and the thoughts that may be popping up. You're not passing any judgment, you're just allowing them to be there for now. And hopefully, as we start to move, your attention gets attracted to the sensations within your body. Starting to notice your breath. Noticing how your natural breath feels in your body today. Where does your breath move into and out from? What's the speed of your breath? And then we're going to change our breath so that we're breathing in and out through the nose, sending our breath into the side of the body, side of the rib cage, connecting to our 360-degree breath now. If you need the external feedback, feel free to wrap your hands around the rib cage. Keep this breath going. Really noticing how it feels in your body, noticing how there's an expansion and a softening with every inhale and exhale. And then you can keep your attention on your breath, or you can just allow your natural breath to come back, and we're going to start to move through the feet. So bringing the heels off the ground so the toes are pushing into the floor. And then you move through the foot in order to lift the toes and rock up onto your heels. And then moving onto the toes, lifting heels, rocking up onto the heels, lifting toes towards your shins. So moving between the two now. Noticing how that feels in your body. And notice when you come up onto your toes where your weight is pushing into. So for me, I'm really tempted to push more into the little toe edge of my foot. And so the big toe edge of the foot kind of lifts a little. So I'm working on trying to push through both edges of the feet equally. So the ball just underneath the big toe and the mound just underneath the little toe, I'm trying to push equally into the ground. We'll do 3 more, warming up those ankles. Brilliant. Bring the left knee into the chest, give it a nice hug, start to circle through the ankle joint, being aware here of any compensation through the body or where the body moves together. So often when we're trying to move our ankle, it's the shin or the knee that wants to join in. So can we try and reduce that movement? Just so we're moving through the ankle solely and able to lubricate that joint, maybe some clicking and cracking going on. Change the direction of those circles. Noticing how that feels in your body. Allowing the foot to become still and then moving the circles through the hip. So the knee moves around in space, but you're moving through the hip here. One way and then the other. Again, trying to be true to the hip joint, so trying to keep the rest of your body nice and still. Let's pull that knee into the chest again, and then slightly allowing it to move away from you so that the knee is stacked on top of your hip. From here, we're going to create internal and external rotation. So external rotation is when the inner thigh rotates towards your face. Try and allow the movement to come from your hip rather than your foot or your knee. And then you come back to neutral and you create internal rotation. The inner thigh rotates away from the face. So we've got a rotation towards the face and away from the face. One more round. Nice. We're going to bring that foot down to the ground and tuck and untuck the tailbone. We're creating anterior and posterior tilts through the pelvis. Slow, steady, focused. I feel like this really helps me drop into my body because I have to be so focused on what is going on to create this movement. And then pelvis becomes still, maybe neutral in between the tuck and the untuck, and we bring the right knee into chest, circling through the ankle. Ooh, feeling those little clicks and cracks. And then the other way. Again, remembering to try and keep that shin nice and steady. We allow those circles to move up through the hip. So the knee moves in space, circle through the hip here. You might release the leg rather than holding on to it now. And again, noticing how that feels through the pelvis, through your hip joint. Change direction. And we're bringing that knee back into the chest for a quick little hug and a squeeze. And then releasing it slightly so that the knee is stacked over your hip. Heel comes straight out of knee. And we move through external and internal rotation. Noticing here whether the knee wants to float to one side and then to the other. Try and keep it stacked on top of your hip as you move between the internal and external rotation. This side may feel completely different to the other, and that is okay. Brilliant. Releasing that foot back down to the ground. This time, instead of just pelvic tilts, we're going to roll all the way up through the spine. So bring the arms down by your sides, push through your feet, tuck your tailbone, and allow the hips to lift all the way up, rolling slowly up through the vertebrae, taking your time here until you settle on the shoulder blades or just underneath the shoulder blades, and then slowly roll back down. Imagine that each vertebrae is dropping back down to the floor, one after the other. It takes quite a lot of control, quite a lot of concentration. So really taking your time here to feel the movement through your body. We go again. Slow peel of the vertebrae off the floor. Reminding your mind that the spine doesn't just move in blocks, that there is movement through each vertebrae. And the more mobile our spine is, the higher the connection we are going to have to our core. And so the more stable and safe we are going to feel within our bodies. Rolling back down when you're ready. And this exercise or this movement is really about creating that individual movement through the vertebrae. So lifting one vertebrae off at a time, creating that mobility through the spine. Rolling back down. When the hips eventually get back down to the ground, you're going to bring your awareness to your rib cage. Can you allow the back of your rib cage here to grow heavy? And imagine that they're falling, your rib cage is falling down into your mat, especially the lower ribs. And you might want to take your hands to rest on the rib cage, the front of your rib cage, to create this heavy feeling. From here, keeping the rib cage grounded and heavy, you're going to lift the right leg off the floor. Move from your hip, keep it bent. Bring the right leg down, left leg. Right, now keeping the rib cage pushing down into the ground. So if you feel like you've lost connection, take a moment to reconnect and then go again with moving the legs, marching the legs. Activating core, which is the whole abdominal cavity, so not just your abdominal muscles, but the obliques, so the side body and the back muscles, multifidus. We're going to do 2 more on each side. So 1, keep the rib cage down, 2, 3, and 4. Take a moment to relax. Nice. So we're going to do another round of that, but you're now welcome to Step it up if that feels comfortable, or take just a different variation. Otherwise, we're going to stay with the feet on the ground, continuing to march. So reset the rib cage, pushing the lower ribs down into the ground, maybe hands resting to keep that heaviness. And then we're going to lift both legs into the ground. Now, if just lifting them off the ground, if lifting them off the floor causes the rib cage to lift, then you're going to want to place the feet back down and march from there. Otherwise, we bring right heel to the ground, back up, left heel, back up. Good, and keep changing. Now really focus on pushing that lower rib cage into the floor. And notice what's going on through your abdominal cavity, the side body, back muscles, TVA, so your deep abdominal muscles. Two more each side. Last two. And relax. So you can pull the knees into your chest for a moment if that feels comfortable, and just rock side to side for a moment. And then when you're ready, you're going to roll up to hands and knees. Once you're in your hands and knees position, can you just take a few moments to paw at the floor? And as you paw, so you lift one hand up and then press it back down, but the fingertips change direction, so they're looking in different directions every time the hands are placed back down. Do one hand at a time, so you've still got that base of support. And you're like a cat pawing at someone's belly or thighs. And you might even turn the hands around and see how that feels, so that the palm faces up rather than down. And bringing the hands back to center so that fingertips face forwards and they're resting underneath the shoulders. Now, we're going to take a moment just to build a bit of strength here in the wrist. So bring big toes together, knees wide. You're sending your hips back towards your heels. If this doesn't feel comfortable on your knees, you can do this at a wall, okay? But you're bringing your hands out in front of you, chest is staying higher than it would in a child's pose. And then you're going to lift heels of the hands off the floor. And we slowly pull them back down. Really thinking of pulling through the forearms, keeping the elbows straight. Now, if you've been doing this with me for a while and actually doing it in this position feels pretty comfortable and you want to increase your wrist strength, then you're going to just move your weight forwards over the hands a bit more. Remembering that slow and controlled pull down towards the ground. Let's do 3 more. Brilliant. Coming down onto your forearms, bringing the knees underneath the hips. Let's take a really slow cat-cow, moving through the vertebrae. Again, becoming aware of how it feels through your spine here. And then slowly coming back to neutral. We're going to take the left leg long behind you. Top of the foot is going to rest on the ground. You're going to smush, technical term I know, but smush the top of the foot side to side. Now try and allow it to come from your ankle rather than the leg. Be slow and aware of how it feels through the inner and outer edge of the ankle and through the top of the foot. Tucking the toes now, coming up onto your hands, can you step the left leg forwards? Now, it doesn't have to come all the way through to the top between your hands because we're going to keep the heel grounded and allow the knee to go forwards over the toes, just to give the back of the ankle a little stretch and support. Push your foot into the ground as if you were going to stand up. Keep allowing the knee to drive over your toes. Now, I know it doesn't look like much, but we're continuing to create activation through the body as we push the foot into the floor, keeping that heel grounded. Keep breathing here. We're going to hold for another 5. Keep pushing. 4, 3, 2, and 1. And then we come back to hands and knees. From here, can you take that left leg long behind you? Squeeze the heel to your bottom. Now check in with your rib cage and pull it up and away from the floor. And moving from your hip, you're going to pulse. So you kick the heel towards the ceiling and then back down. And we're going to go 4, 10, 9, 8, 7. Check in with rib cage. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring the knee back in line with your right, but keep it hovering. Now take the knee out to the left. Try not to let the body fall to the right. Pull it back in. To the left. Pull back in. Notice here what has to happen in your abdominal cavity to keep you steady and still. We're going to go for another 3, 2, and 1. Bring the knee back underneath you. Keep it to hover though, and then step left toes all the way over to the right. Take a really nice long leg. Push through your heel here. And then your left arm is going to reach over to the top right corner of your mat. So you've got this lengthening and arch through the side of your body, left side of your body. Breathing here. And then pulling that left arm and hand back. Can you lift the left leg into the air? Squeeze the knee in towards your elbow. And then take it long behind you again. So over to the right. Squeeze knee into elbow, left elbow. Take it over to the right. Squeeze knee in. Take it over. And then release. Shaking off those hips. So coming down onto those forearms again, exploring really slow cat-cows. Noticing what's happening through the side of your body, the back muscles, the front of your body in order to create slow, segmental control over the spine. Couple rounds, moving through extension and flexion. And then bringing yourself back to neutral. Can we take that right leg long behind us, top of the foot on the floor, and give it a little smush side to side? Forwards. Being aware of moving from the ankle rather than the hip or the knee. Tuck the toes. Bring yourself up onto your hands and step right foot forwards. It doesn't have to come all the way through. We're keeping the heel grounded, allowing the knee to go forwards over the toes. Pushing that heel down into the ground. Keep pushing the floor away from you. Keep activation through this right leg, sorry. We go for another 5. Keep breathing. 4, 3, 2, 1. We step the right leg back behind us. And again, the right leg comes long, but this time it's up in the air. My plant is hiding me. And we squeeze the heel towards your bottom. Check in with your rib cage. Pull it up and away from the floor. Move from your hip in order to pulse. We push the heel towards the ceiling, back down. We go for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring the knee back underneath you, but keep it hovering. Keeping the weight heavy in your right hand to avoid falling to the left. We take the knee out to the side, back in. Out to the side, back in. Good. We've got another 3, 2, and 1. Brilliant. We're going to take that leg long over to the left behind you, pushing into that heel. And then we're going to bring right hand over towards the top left corner of your mat, maybe bending down into that left forearm, left elbow. Breathing into right rib cage as you create length through the side body. You bring yourself back up onto your hands, keeping the leg where it is, resetting the spine, keeping rib cage pulling up and away from the ground. Can you squeeze your right knee in towards right elbow, and then long over to the left. Squeeze. Lengthen. Squeeze. Lengthen. Squeeze. Lengthen. Nice. Bringing that foot and that knee back underneath you. Tuck your toes. Walk your hands towards your knees and start to lift the knees away from the ground. Heels become heavy. And then we pull them back down, really gently tapping the floor, pushing away. Tapping. Pushing away. Tapping. Amazing. From here, allow the heels to ground as the bottom goes up towards the sky, folding over the legs for a moment. Take a moment to connect to the feet, pushing through the ball of the foot, mound underneath your little toe, right back in your heel, and then slowly rolling up through your spine here, taking your time to unravel as you come up. When you get to the top, roll the shoulders back. Maybe take the feet just a little bit wider than hip distance. Take a moment to give yourself a little hug, tucking chin to chest. Breathing here. Noticing how the body feels. Noticing your feet on the ground. Take a moment to thank yourself for coming to the mat, for moving your body. Thank your mind for calming down. Thank your breath for always being there to support you. Take a breath in through the nose, sigh it out through the mouth. Breathing in, sighing out, releasing the arms. So you are all set. If you want some relaxation time before you go into your day, feel free to go to the Shavasana video. Otherwise, if you want a longer practice, join me for the next session. Thank you.